What's going on, everyone? So Los Angeles Lakers were sharing photos of DAngelo Russell and Austin Reeves, talking about, their backcourt, basically back in action. These two guys, BFFs, and these two guys are going to be the two biggest pieces for the Lakers this season, not named LeBron James and Anthony Davis. Now, I do think Rui will definitely be a big factor, and you've heard a lot from JJ Redick about Rui Hachimura. Same thing with Max Christie. He's supposed to get an expanded role. I wouldn't be shocked if, Dalton Connect or one of these other guys end up kind of coming out of left field. But really, I think it's a safe bet to say DAngelo Russell and Austin Reeves are probably your 3 and 4 as far as, LeBron James and Anthony Davis are your two best players, obviously. I think on any given night, DLO and Reeves can be your 3rd or 4th best player. Last season, it was primarily DAngelo Russell. And I do think, more likely than not, it probably will continue to be DAngelo Russell just because of how good of a shooter he is, the playmaking, especially JJ wants to play LeBron James off ball a lot more this season, which means I think D'Lo's going to get more opportunity to be the point guard, which is a good thing. D'Lo's numbers when he actually got to run and play the point guard were fantastic with the Lakers. So my hope is that continues and that, JJ Redick really gives D'Lo the opportunity to show his diverse game. Obviously, these two guys both are a defensive liability. Hopefully they can at least be serviceable, buy in a little bit. They're not perfect players. I do think you're best bringing one of these two off the bench. I've talked about bringing Austin Reeves off the bench just because the numbers back it up compared to DAngelo Russell. Austin Reeves, it gives you the exact same points to assists, rebounds, his numbers are identical to when he starts, but on better efficiency. So he's just more efficient off the bench because he's going up against bench guys and defensive schemes, and he can kind of be himself more, right? He can kind of just stay in attack mode, which is what you want. I think Austin Reeves, if he embraced a bench role, I think he could be an 18 to 20 point a game guy for the Lakers because Lakers could bring him off the bench and just tell him hey, dude, just go, right? Just score. That's what you're bringing in. Don't worry about all the other stuff. You get the ball, be aggressive. You got the green line, right? But regardless, however this shapes up, these two guys are going to be very valuable. Now, in the case of Austin Reeves, there is a lot of talk that Austin Reeves is going to kind of be unlocked further. That JJ Redick has a lot of plans for Reeves, that JJ Redick really sees Austin Reeves kind of taking more strides, that he's not at his ceiling yet. He still has more growth, and that JJ is going to be able to unlock some of that. I don't doubt it, right? Last season, Austin Reeves' biggest problems were he couldn't shoot, and on top of not being able to shoot, he just was very inconsistent, right? The first quarter of the season, Austin Reeves was shooting 28% from 3. And then he would just have these pockets, right? He'd have a 5-game stretch where he looked like his old self, right? And I know if you just look at the stats generically, you're like, oh, he wasn't that bad, right? And look, I've defended Austin Reeves numerous times. And I think a lot of people blow it out of proportion. He wasn't that bad. It's just the lack of aggression. He settled a lot more last year. Now, tired legs, deep playoff run, goes right into FIBA, goes right into training camp, goes right into the season. Reeves talked about fatigue. Everyone kind of has used that as the excuse for Reeves. I'm willing to give it to you. Fine. I get it because you're right. He did. He went from, a guy that was just coming in the league, playing kind of spot minutes to, exploding on the scene. And now he's playing heavy minutes in FIBA, and he was playing the most minutes on the Lakers, just came off an 82-game season, right? You start going, okay, I'm willing to give him the benefit of the doubt. Well, this season, you didn't do all that stuff. You didn't have a deep playoff run. You were spending most of the offseason golfing and having fun. Okay, that's great, right? Well, now it's time to play some basketball. And he does have a head coach that really does favor his play style and what he wants to do. And I'm hopeful that Austin Reeves will be more aggressive, will be more in attack mode, right? Because we need that version of Reeves. We need that version that is constantly keeping the defense just on their toes, right? And then if he can continue to evolve and expand as a guy that can make plays, I think that could really go a long way. As far as DAngelo Russell goes, problem that we have with DAngelo Russell is we haven't really heard much, right? Like JJ Redick and all these reports coming out about the Lakers have all been that, Austin Reeves this and Austin Reeves that and Rui Hachimura this and Rui Hachimura that and Max Christie this and Max Christie that. You've heard about everyone else, but really haven't heard much from DAngelo Russell, which is odd because, again, like, you would think with JJ Redick, how good of a shooter DLO is, how good of a playmaker DLO is, what JJ wants to do and accomplish out on the basketball court, it makes a ton of sense for DAngelo Russell to kind of be a big presence for the Lakers this upcoming season. Right? You talk about a guy that can really light it up. You talk about a guy that can really, do some damage out there on the basketball court. And yet, nothing. It's kind of been crickets in a lot of ways. And I still think DAngelo Russell is going to be a huge part. I just think, D'Lo was the third best guy. So, like, the argument you can make is D'Lo was the third best guy last year. Probably going to be that this year. Like, how much... Like, he's not going to all of a sudden be the second best player. He's not going to all of a sudden be the third best player. Where Austin Reeves is kind of coming off of a bit of a disappointing down year. Rui Hachimura was great in the regular season, but in the playoffs was rough. Played out of position, was just slotted in a lot of bad ways. And then Max Christie didn't really get any consistency last season. So I do think that there is a built-in argument as to, like, why we haven't heard much about DAngelo Russell. But I'd like to hear, like, what the idea is. Like, what's the plan? What's the goal here for him? Because, again, last season, I understand the playoffs was a bit of a concern again. But you saw the progress, right? Talk about the playoffs. And I've mentioned this before, but, like, you see clear progression with D'Lo from the first playoff run that the Lakers went on to last playoff run against Denver, right? Particularly the Denver series. Big differences, right? D'Lo went from, like, completely unplayable, like, you might as well just bring the guy sitting in the front row in. Does D'Lo even know how to play basketball bad? To, like, hey, he was really good in, like, half the games, right? Which you don't want a guy that's good in half the games. You want a guy that's good in all the games. And I do still think D'Lo is more likely than not getting traded at some point. I do. I think D'Lo's won't be, like, I would be a little surprised if he's here come the, by the time we get to the playoffs and the trade deadline, right? However, I do think that there's an argument to, if nothing's there, just kind of leave it, because D'Lo's an expiring and you could always just let him fall off the books. And, now you have a bunch of, because LeBron can opt out and restructure his contract, so you basically could sign whoever you want. Just something to kind of keep in mind going forward. But, in general, like, I look at DAngelo Russell and I look at his progress and I look at what he's done. And then you look at his regular season. He averaged 18 points, 3 rebounds, 6 assists, a steal, half a block, right? Shot 83% from the foul line, EFG of 56%, shot 49.7% from 2-point range, which is actually down last few years, but particularly from 3. On 7.2 attempts, shot 41.5%. Right? And that was with him, too, a quarter of the season. Like, the first 20 games, D'Lo was shooting like 31% from 3. Right? Like, so this is a guy that was, like, his first 20 games of the season was shooting atrocious. Right? So, if he can kind of get back into the swing of things, and then also, of course, Austin Reeves, again, even in a down year, talk about a guy that gave you 16 points, 4 rebounds, 5.5 assists, a steal and half a block, 85% from the foul line, 56.8% EFG, shot 58.3% from 2-point range, and 36.7% from 3-point range, right? But, you look at the previous year, he shot 40% from 3-point range. If he can get back to 40% from 3 on top of, just being more aggressive, right? Like, I would really like to see that from Austin Reeves. Just be more, like, you watched him in the playoffs. He was just so much more aggressive than what you saw. I mean, his field goal attempts were up, right? I mean, you look at the conference finals run. He, during the regular season, averaged 7.7 attempts. In the playoff run, he averaged 12.1 attempts. You know, and then same thing, like he averaged 11 attempts and then jumped up 12.6 attempts last season, right? He's just more aggressive. He's looking and hunting more, right? I want to see that in the regular season. You saw that towards the end of the season. But anyway, as always, this is a discussion. Pass question on you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. What do you think? How do you feel with your thoughts? You excited for DLO and Austin Reeves? You think like, nah, I'm excited for DLO, or I'm excited for just Reeves, or, you know, trade both of them. However you feel, whatever your thoughts are, I'd love to hear it. So let me know down in the comments below. That being said, if you haven't liked this video, hit that like button. Helps me a lot. So we enjoy these types of videos, and I truly appreciate it. Not subscribe to the channel, hit that subscribe button. Turn on the bell notifications. Appreciate y'all. See you in the next one. Thank you.